Right, so thank you for clicking on this video, and I would like to start by saying that I will be referring to muscles. When I say that I'm referring to muscles, I'm referring to skeletal muscles, which are the muscles that surround the skeleton, such as your bicep or your chest or your quad or any muscle that you can move, if you know what I mean. So if you're doing the bicep curl, you're moving it because you're moving your skeleton. So yeah, with that out of the way, let us begin. So we have first got let's say this is a cross section of the bicep or the chest. Basically, what you've got here is the muscle surrounded by the epimysium, and the epimysium it's around the muscle, and it also attaches to the skeletons in what is called tendons. And tendons, have you ever seen the video of people doing like that on the curls and then it goes up? That's because the tendon has snapped and the muscle just pings upwards because it's not attached to the skeleton anymore, which is bad. If you see that there, that's just a little magnifying glass that's signifying that it's zooming in a little bit. So zooming in on this cross section of the muscle tissue, then we have got these muscle fibers which are surrounded by the perimysium. Muscle fibers, also known as tasciculi. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Tasciculi. And then if we zoom in even further on these individual muscle fibers, then we've got the endomysium surrounding these myofibrils. And on the endomysium, there is these tubules and channels. And also these calcium ions. We'll get onto this later, but all of this is involved in actual contraction. So in the endomysium, you've got the sarcolemma, and then a gelatinous fluid called the sarcoplasm, which contains glycogen, which is a polymer of alpha glucose, as well as fats and mitochondria, which is responsible for the production of ATP, which we will get onto the importance of that a bit later. But yeah, you've got those myofibrils, and that's what's really interesting, because zooming in even further, we have got the myosin, which is a bit thicker, and then interweaved with this, we've got the actin, and these make up sarcomeres, which are repeating functional units, and they're very important in the actual contraction. And obviously, zooming in, we've got the actual structure of these myosin and actin and how they actually work, and we'll get onto this in a second. And this is all made of amino acids and proteins. As you can see there, they've got the amine C carbon R group. R group's different for every amino acid. Not every amino acid, but every different amino acid has a different R group. It's what makes them different. And then you've got the carboxyl group, and then they form together with peptide bonds to form polypeptides, which are proteins. So yeah, that is the structure of the muscle, and now we will move on to how muscles contract and therefore move. So when you want to move the muscle, you do that. If you're doing like a bicep curl, and it contracts. So okay, so this is called the sliding filament theory of muscle contraction, and basically these repeating sarcomere units, the myosin and the actin, they glide across each other. I'm just gonna have a little drink. These myosin and actin, they glide across each other and then therefore shorten the sarcomere, which shortens the muscle and therefore contracts the muscle, so the muscle gets smaller and it therefore pulls whatever you're pulling. So whenever your brain tells your muscles to contract by electrical impulses, and then these move across the nervous system, and then you've got your motor neurons, and then they release these electrical impulses. It can also happen in a reflex arc. Let's say if you touch a hot surface and you just go like that really quickly, that's a reflex arc, and that's the spinal cord. But it's mainly, if you're doing an exercise, it's going to be your brain that's going to be moving the muscles. So you've got your neurons and they're firing onto the muscles, and then the calcium ions, they are released and they go on to the troponin, and then this moves the tropomyonin, and then this allows the myosin binding sites to be available for the myosin heads to attach to. So when the myosin heads attach, the inorganic phosphate is released, and that goes downwards, as you can see, step number 1. That goes away, and then the myosin head is pulled this way, or on the diagram, it's pulled that way, and this pulls the actin, and therefore shortens the sarcomere, as we spoke about just a second ago. And then the ADP is released downwards, and then this is moved because there's chemical energy stored in there, and we will get on to why in just a second, but it's all part of the cycle. And then it stops moving when the ATP, adenosine triphosphate, ADP is adenosine diphosphate. But yeah, ATP is created from the mitochondria, which we spoke about here because they're contained in the sarcoplasm. ATP's release is created during respiration, which involves glucose and oxygen, and that happens a lot in the muscles because you need a lot of energy. So ATP attaches there. It stops the it attaches to the myosin head, and then it stops it from moving. And then that ATP is then converted back into ADP and PI, and also energy, which is then stored in there, and then it attaches to there for the next cycle. And that means that the muscle is ready to contract again when more calcium ions attach to the troponin. So yeah, now, after we have established what muscles are and how they contract, let's talk about how they grow, because that's really interesting. And that's how you're going to get bigger muscles and more strength, which is probably why I clicked on this video. So, muscles grow when they're put under stress, and this is because when you lift up a weight, there are little tears and damages are created in the muscle, which is a very good thing, because when there are tears, the muscle cells, they release these cytokines, which are inflammatory molecules, and they activate the immune system. And this means that the immune system cells, they paste it over, but they make it better. They build it back. They build it back a lot better than it was before, making it stronger. And I will just add, as just a brief side note, muscle cells cannot be replicated. They cannot be they can only be grown. They can only be grown in size, not replicated. You don't get mitosis past birth. So that's why if you have a stroke or something, then you're going to find it very difficult to walk again, because your cells are dead and they can rarely be grown back if they're fully dead. So yeah, you can only grow the cells, you cannot replicate them, and you cannot revive dead cells. But yeah, so yeah, the immune system, it rebuilds the cells, and when it builds them back stronger, and this is called muscle hypertrophy. And muscle hypertrophy happens when you, if I picked up this pen and did that, I wouldn't get any hypertrophy whatsoever because this is really light. But if I increased the mass of this pen by 1 kilogram and lifted it until I couldn't lift it anymore, and then every month or so I increased it by another 1 kilogram, then that would increase muscle size, because the tears can only occur when you have progressive overload, which means that you could put in more stress on the muscle each time, which means the more tears. Because the more strain that the muscle is put under, the more tears, which means that the more it can grow back. So yeah, and the opposite of this is called muscle atrophy, which is where the muscles decrease in size because they are not put under progressive overload and they are not worked, and therefore they stop working as well as if you were training them regularly, which means that you've not got any. I mean, you've still got muscle function, but you've got limited muscle function, and it will decay over time, which is why you should stay active, stay healthy, and stay consistent. So yeah, there are a multitude of factors that affect muscle growth, but the 3 that I will talk about just now are nutrition, hormones, and sleep. as these are probably the three main. You've obviously got genetic factors such as how your immune system reacts to like the tears that you're putting the muscle under, but the main three are nutrition. So basically, you've got, once you eat protein, I'd say recommended protein 1 to 0.7 grams protein per pound of body weight if you're serious. But if you're just a normal person and you just want to have like a balanced diet, you probably don't need as much as that. But if you want to build a lot of muscle, then that's probably what you want. But yeah, you've got because protein contains these things called amino acids, which, as I said, they have the polypeptides, and then they build up the proteins. So if you eat the muscles of an animal, those muscles contain proteins which contain amino acids, which are then used by your body to create proteins and then muscles. So yeah, that's basically how that works. And you can also get proteins from plants, but it's more efficient from animals. So yeah, that's nutrition. You also want hormones such as human growth hormone and testosterone, which they help increase the size of the muscle and all that kind of stuff. And also sleep, because the immune system works to rebuild the muscles during the sleep, which means that if you don't get good sleep, then you're not going to be able to build muscle as well as if you did get a good sleep, because that's when all the growth happens, basically. Hormones are also produced in sleep, but it's mainly like the immune system and the growth and the actual process of building the muscle that's important. So yeah, and there's also other factors like age and gender, because younger men are going to have more testosterone than older men and women. It doesn't mean that older men and women shouldn't try. It just means that it won't be as optimal for them. Like when you get the powerlifting, it's obvious that men are going to be better than women, but they're still good in their own way, and you should still obviously try and build muscle if you want to live a healthy and long life. So yeah, those are most of the factors affecting muscle growth. So I think that's it for everything. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it has been as fun for you to watch as it's been for me to research, make, and all that kind of stuff. As always, if you did find this video interesting, please like and subscribe, as it helps out a ton. And please comment what you think of this video, if I've got anything wrong, which I probably have. It's not all new to me. I've obviously knew some of this, but some of the interesting stuff, like some of this like in-depth contraction stuff, that's new. So yeah, I hope you've learned something as well, and hope you have a great day, and bye bye.